What do you do when you have a 140-year-old company that has to split apart and part of it gets sold to all the data that's going to be involved with that particular organization? Well, that's what we're going to be looking at this week in the Data Radio Show. Hello there, and welcome to this week's episode of the Data Radio Show. What happens when you have a company that's been operating for over 140 years, a global mining and cement provider, that gets split up and parts of it get moved around or sold? What do you do with the data from an organization that goes back that far? Well, that's what we're going to be looking at this week. It's part of the presentation that was part of the event that we did on April 3rd in Melbourne, and Tim and Lorenz from Scalefree are going to walk us through that. But before we get there, make sure that you hit that like button for the video, share the video, or subscribe to the channel. We have a whole bunch of content that comes out here and on podcasts, for example, that you might not find elsewhere that you could find really interesting. So make sure you subscribe so you get those updates. All right, let's jump over to that presentation with the boys now and learn a little bit more about this.
Regarding this case study. If not, I would move on to the next one. This one was a really interesting case, actually, of a really big global mining and cement provider in Germany. And we already worked with them before and started helping them build their data warehouse. And at some point, they got the case that some mining parts of the company were bought by another company. So they needed to split parts out of the data warehouse. And this is actually one of the cases where you can really see the benefits of data vault. But before we start with that, again, some background about the client. Again, really old one, 140 years of innovation in mining and cement already. So they are in business for a really long time. They are a global leader in full flow sheet technology for minerals processing. So in the end, they are a really big mining company and produce a lot of cement and other industrial goods. They're driving the green condition. So this is a transition. This is actually a big thing for them. So they really set a focus in the last years to get really sustainable and green, even though it's a hard field to do that. They have around 11,000 employees, so much less employees than the last one, but still. And they are also present in around 16 countries. And if you think about splitting the data, there are some big problems with that, or essentially there are some big questions around if a part gets bought and you need to split just some data out of your data warehouse. And the first part is integrated systems. So in a data warehouse, everything is integrated to one place. And you only want to split out the acquired units, essentially. Then you have the separation risk. If you separate data, there's a high risk that you lose some data, that you mismanage it, that you get really disruptions in the production as well of the company. The carve-out is really complex in points. And you have a post-acquisition urgency. So there was really a lot of pressure on the project. They needed to get it done quickly and, in the end, without mistakes. But as we already implemented Data Vault 2.0, this was actually one project where you could see the benefits really easily. Because maybe I've seen a lot of you guys already work with Data Vault. Data Vault has a lot of features that actually fit this case pretty well. The first thing is for sure the clear structure. I can't go back exactly with the mouse. I would love to. But Data Vault, as you know, splits all the data in different entities, and they are always the same. You have hub, links, satellites. You have some more for sure. But because they are so clear structured and always the same, it's much easier for you to essentially strip out the data. You don't need to think about how does the table look like so much. It's always the same structure that you're working with, and you can automate it much better, even if you do a split out. Then you have the source isolation. Normally, first of all, we have the record source everywhere, so you can always see which column is from which source system. Furthermore, we do satellite splits, which means essentially we split the describing attributes of a business key or of a business object into two satellites, which makes it really easy for you to split the data again to the source system and attach them. Then it's really adaptable, as all of you probably know. So even changes to the model are not a big problem. You can just remove a link if you need to. If a new source system comes in because you need one, because maybe the company bought some stuff, now took some of your source systems away, you can just add them with new links and extend the model in the end. So that makes it really easy for you. And the last one is the simplified core logic, one often overlooked point and often done wrong point. The raw data vault only keeps the raw data. We don't do any changes there that regarding business rules. So it's really easy for you to essentially split the data again and go back to the source system because the business rules are in the business vault, and there you can then split it by business logic. Right? And this was essentially for us the key to make this happen really quickly. And the results for the client were, first of all, the rapid and low list split. So we did it really quickly and luckily without really big errors. So that was really good. The handover was really good. So the acquirer also was pretty happy with it. And there were not really big afterworks that we need to do. And we had zero operational disruption. So essentially all the reports stayed up. For sure, we needed to do some changes and move some part out, maybe remove some part from some dashboards, but most of it we could keep live and just keep the customer, essentially up to date. Yeah. Are there any questions regarding this?
So, what were some of the kind of obstacles that you faced in engagement? Like obviously speed, but also, as it's saying in English, you can have something fast, you can have something cheap, and you can have something that's quality, but you can only have two, not three.
Yeah, so with this client, actually, we were in the project and we did the basics with them. And then they worked on their own on the data warehouse. And essentially, we dropped out. This is how we do a lot of projects. We try to teach the client, help them to get started, and build up the data warehouse. And when they are ready to work on their own, essentially, we try to move out. Then it's a success for us. But they came back to us with this problem and were like, we would like your help there again. And for us, was in the beginning a little bit because of the rapid start that you need to really work into the data again. So you really need to look again, okay, what do we have here? But after some time, because of the standard entities, it's pretty easy to understand the data when you work with Data Vault, because you know hubs have the business keys and you know how to find your source system and write search queries to only identify the same source systems in the end over the record source. So, but for sure there are always problems.
So from a client standpoint, and I suppose you actually had two clients in this particular instance, the business and then the acquirer as well. So did you have to meet certain standards from the acquiring company?
So actually, I don't think so. Like mainly from the company that hired us, which was the company essentially having the data warehouse beforehand. So they just said which data we need to split, and they made a little bit of pressure, right? But even that came mainly from our business users and the business of this side. So we hadn't so much contact with the people who acquired the mining part. All right, then I would hand over for Tim.
I've got a quick question.
Yes.
In your final result, did you, with the records you needed to strip out, did you delete or did you kind of obfuscate the record and just make it unreadable? What happened at the end of years?
So normally overriding is never the best to do. We like to strip it out completely because it also looks a little bit ugly and you will have query problems later if you still have this overwritten data in there. So we try to strip it out completely.
Okay.
And also our client was not allowed to have any of it anymore. So, but we didn't give them any data vault entities, for example. We just handed over like flat files again, like in the source system. So we essentially rebuilt what we got from the source, which is one of the big points of data vault. So,
Yeah.
Still some progress.
Yeah. Good.
I want to thank Tim and Lorenz for putting this presentation together again. It was really, really educational. 140 years is a long time to be able to store information data. Obviously, things have changed a lot since then in how we manage information. So it's a really interesting insight as to how to make sure that your machinery of data, everything that you've got that works to keep data safe, can be split, changed, and adapted. It's really important with the ever-changing world that we live in. Alright, thanks again for checking out today's video. As I said at the start, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already so you can get updates from us. In the meantime, look after yourself, live long, prosper, be one with the Force, and I will catch you guys all next week.